Counter-Strike. It's known to many as one of the biggest tactical FPS games in the world. With more than 20 years since the franchise's initial release and multiple iterations of the game, this tactical shooter is one of the biggest esports titles out today. Fans from all over the world have bared witness to years of professional gameplay, legends in the making, and teams that solidified their names in the history books forever. While Counter-Strike and many games like it were available to the public, a large demographic was not allowed to play simply due to its age restriction. Obviously, that demographic is little kids. While there are tactical FPS games now with a teen rating, like Valorant, Counter-Strike is, and always has been, an 18+ or mature rated game. That age rating was often bypassed by entering your birth year to be in the 1900s, but other than that, there was no legitimate way for kids and teens to play a tactical FPS game. Or was there? Inside the sandbox world of Blox sparked a gateway for many players today. In this video, we'll be covering the competitive scene of Blox, Roblox's tactical FPS. If you want to see more content like Blox, consider subscribing to our channel and hitting the bell to stay up to date. We really appreciate it. Now, let's get on with the video. Blox is a game designed to mimic Counter-Strike as much as possible within the Roblox universe. It was made in the Roblox Studio program by a team named Rolv. If you didn't notice, Rolv is very similar to the spelling of Valve, the publishers of Counter-Strike and many other famous games. Rolv, as a Roblox developing team, have been making other games like Typical Colors 2 that copy the gameplay of Team Fortress 2, Unit 1968 Vietnam, remade from the Battlefield series, and their newest game, Right to Fight, which has similarities to the beat-em-up Yakuza series. For Blox, this game's story takes place in 2014 when it first went into development. In July of 2015, the first playable version of the game was made available, Blox Sauce. Apart from playing the game in the Roblox launcher, the game resembled everything that was Counter-Strike's source. Gun sounds were imported and inserted into the game, and the menu and UI were identical. The Roblox clone obviously wasn't a one-to-one import, lacking polish in terms of gameplay in the movement and spray patterns department, but overall, it was an experience for younger gamers to get a feel for what a competitive FPS game was like. However, the project was scrapped for a newer rendition of the series, later known as Counterblox Roblox Offensive. Counterblox Roblox Offensive, CBRO for short, copied the aesthetics of CSGO. This time, Rolv's release came with better shading, better spray control patterns, and more additional content for Robloxians to try. Decals and skins for weapons were added, and the game attracted many young souls that were craving a realistic FPS game, as realistic as Roblox can get. Eventually, the game rose in popularity, and a competitive league was taking shape. On November 5th, 2016, Who2Trust, also known as Truss, uploaded a video announcing the start of the Counterblox Competitive League, aka the CBCL. Truss is a Roblox game developer and was associated with growing the competitive scene. However, the league itself was run by Proofy, the ex-owner of the CBCL.
They hosted up to 4 seasons with different majors being played throughout, and teams of 5 winning pins and skins in-game through developer backing. It actually integrated into the game itself, so if you won a major, you'd have a major skin that you could show off in public lobbies, or you'd have a pin that you can show off in public lobbies. Beyond, just the ability to say, hey, we won a major, and this, that, the other, and from there, it just kind of grew.
Everything was kept up to date and archived on a YouTube channel called esports, the R being shortened for Rolv. Players were able to watch their favorite teams play through the VODs and occasional Twitch streams when the team was available. Though CBCL was the main league, there were other leagues that players within the community created for anyone to join. All you needed was a group of 4, and you were able to sign up and compete in these tournaments. And because the Roblox community tends to skew towards the younger demographic, the skill ceiling among the players was way more well matched compared to being put in a ranked game in CSGO, where the experience of playing FPS games meant that some players were simply way better.
If you were to compare CS and CB side by side, they have their flaws, but CB is going to be a very much more easy environment to navigate for someone who's younger or doesn't feel like they want to, play CS or can run CS. So it's very much so a competitive outlet for people that aren't ready to get into esports specifically, even though it is an esport.
Like skill wise, like we have like the youngest players. We had players that were like 10 years old. Like there was no age gap for getting into this. It's mad accessible because like there were ads in the game that was promoting like, hey, we have a competitive league. We would always have promotional aspects saying, hey, there's a competitive league. And like this competitive league for these young players got them that first taste of like competitive esports.
The CBCL ran for over a year, with teams coming in and out. Some teams started to get recognized more and more as they competed in various tournaments. And thus, a competitive scene was starting to grow. Some teams and players started to rise above the rest. And within the 4 seasons of the CBCL, each season had a new victor take home the championship.
Winners that I knew came out of CBCL were BlazTech, DropX, JTF2, and Beacon, esports or bots. Out of those 4, there was a lot of like roster changes season to season.
Okay, with 3 kills.
Eventually, a new edition of Counterblox was released. With a more polished look, both in terms of gameplay and aesthetic, Counterblox Remastered was available to playtest and then released to the public on July 28, 2018. With it came a new iteration of a competitive league. The CBCL was rebranded to the Valve Sports League, aka the RSL. Founded by Frost, the RSL hosted the regular competitive league along with other tournaments such as 1v1s and draft tourneys. The competitive player base was so big that the scene spilled outside of North America. Some of the best players who were competing on North American Roblox servers hailed from Europe and South America.
We had a North America, South America 1v1 Invitational. We had a European, Asia 1v1 Invitational. We had an RSL South America Championship too. And we had North America and we had Europe. We had designated at that time we were going to do 3 different regions because of paying differential, which has been fixed now. And then afterwards, we actually took all those winners and made another tournament called RSL International Champion, which is a Prim 5-1.
There was also a ranked matchmaking system set up by the developers of Counterblox. Though it was through a third-party Discord server, the fact that there were enough players to make a matchmaking system says quite a bit about the game's popularity.
We made like a server that was all about matchmaking. So another like this is the biggest resource Counterblox ranked was a Discord and a Discord bot. We didn't have a rank system, so we wanted to play good players to practice, and your team wasn't always on because school and it wasn't tournament week, so people weren't really trying to get on and play the game. So when there were pro players and just decent players on the server, and so this is like the easy way for if you're like a new player and you want to get into a community and have comms, it was our face it for Counterblox.
The RSL was also riding high, and as the hype train continued to chug, video content started to appear on YouTube, and players started posting clips and montages of their best plays in Counterblox. While Counterblox built quite a big following, Valve decided to step away from further development on the tactical shooter for another FPS game in their library. Arsenal is an arms race specific FPS game. If you don't know what an arms race is, it's a game mode where you rotate guns every kill until you reach a target kill number, resulting in you being victorious. As time went on, Arsenal crept up in player count behind Counterblox, eventually surpassing it. The development team decided to focus more efforts on the arms race game, which paid off big time, as Arsenal won Roblox's Game of the Year award for 2019. But apart from being dropped by the developer, Counterblox also had a problem with cheaters. Just like in the real Counter-Strike, there were lots of programs and software that gave players substantial benefits, like aimbot, wall hacks, and many more. Since the Roblox client wasn't designed to detect cheaters that auto-lock on targets, the dev team needed to manually look through VODs to make their decision about whether or not to ban someone. But still, Counterblox players continued to play the game at a competitive level. The RSL kept running its league, providing players with an environment to compete, and attempted to replicate real esports tournaments. The series ran for 5 seasons, with the most recent season ending and seeing Team Racknet taking home the victory over Team Paladins 2-1. Racknet was led by Counterblox veteran Zeniu, who had been an active player since the early beginnings of the game and went on to become a developer for Counterblox. Today, Counterblox has been overshadowed by many other shooting games in the Roblox game library. Counterblox may still be available to play, but it's not being updated anymore. There have been community attempts to release their own versions of the game, but nothing has been quite as popular as the original Counterblox. Though the blocky FPS game may not have the polish that other competitive esports do, It certainly did act as a gateway for younger gamers to try their hands at a tactical FPS game. The game might not be the same as it once was, but it's free to play, so you're always welcome to give it a try. So if you're a gamer that stays within the rules of age ratings, but also want to give FPS games a try, Blox might be your best bet. What do you think about Blox? Is there a place for Roblox-inspired esports? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. This video is made possible thanks to our wonderful patrons. Massive thank you to everyone on this list, and shout out to Jason B, Brendan, QB, Foxy, Mauve, Pachanas, Sierra, Shampoo, Spartacus, and Yashichi for being platinum supporters. And an extra special shout out to Steven, Jason G, and Marco for being diamond supporters. Awesome to see you all still with us. If you want to talk to us, check out our Discord, or if you want to support the channel and get info on unreleased videos, check out our Patreon. If you want to help us out in a different way, leaving a like, subscribing, and hitting the bell to stay up to date is also appreciated. My name is Jonah, thanks for watching.